Hey everyone, today we're in Newtown, Connecticut, going to check out the abandoned train tunnels. Today is a very hot day in the end of June 2022. Today we're expecting a high temperature of 97 with a lot of humidity. So this is not the most pleasant walking to these tunnels. Last year we parked right outside the tunnels, but this year we came in the summer and we couldn't find a way down that wasn't completely overgrown or easily accessible. So we went to a nearby parking area, but right up ahead there's a bridge over these train tracks. And next to these train tracks in the mountain, parallel with them, is a really old, flooded out train tunnel. And below these train tracks, crossing diagonally underneath them, is a newer abandoned train tunnel, which with recent weather should not be flooded at all. It only had a little bit of water in it last time. But on a really scorching hot day like this, I thought it'd be a good place to check out because it should be nice and cold in the tunnel. By the look of these train tracks we're walking along, they look a little bit shiny, so it runs sometimes, but I can tell also it doesn't run all the time. If you look down right next to us, this is an old railway bed. Yes, it is. That goes to the newer abandoned tunnel, which cuts underneath this diagonally. And the parallel one that's inside the mountain is like an easy walk in from the train tracks, but exiting it, you gotta go up a steep cliff or walk back through it. I walked up the steep cliff last time. I'll probably walk back through the tunnel this time. But it's a hot day, I don't mind getting wet. I didn't even wear my big tall boots. If the water's as deep as last time, I'm definitely gonna flood my boots. It's too deep in there. But it's been dry and it's summer, so maybe water will be receded. All right, we're about to go in the old one that's right after the bridge, but here's the newer abandoned tunnel. We'll try to go down there afterwards. Oh wow, that whole pit is full of poison ivy. That's also the tunnel that has a few abandoned vintage cars in it. They're mostly just frames. People have definitely scrapped them, whether it was down there or before they threw them into the pit. All right, everybody, we just passed the bridge. To the left is the bottom of the newer one, and to our right is the bottom, or the entrance of the older one. So the newer abandoned tunnel is right down here. We're gonna enter that from the other side. Oh, there's a little bit of water in it despite it being so warm. And look, you can even see somebody's rope. That's a really treacherous way down. I'm not gonna try that. I walked down quite a ways to do it last time. But here is the really old one that looks super duper cool. There's not much of a trail. Not many people know about this. Yeah, we have it all to ourselves. This is beautiful. It does look like there's a little bit less water than last year. All right, there is a little bit of a trail here. Not many visitors come here. Just gotta be on the lookout for poison ivy. I'm not necessarily allergic to that. I've never got it, even touching it, ripping it out with bare hands. But supposedly your ability to not be allergic can go away. So I'm not gonna take my luck on that. Oh, there's some birds flying through here. Now you see this giant pile of rocks that's covered with this newer growth. At some point in recent times, that all collapsed from the ceiling. Most collapses in a tunnel like this would occur in the spring when all the icicles and stuff are melting. That would have pried apart all the rocks. Oh wow, what a relief. Just in the past couple steps, it just hit me. It's like air conditioning in here. It feels like the tunnel's air conditioned. Oh, there's a frog in here. I just saw it hop in. Time to get some lights running. Oh, there we go. Lights on. Had it turned all the way down. Thought it wasn't going to work at first. So there is a frog here somewhere. Yeah, last time I came in here, these railroad ties here were all underwater. The water table has definitely gone down. Oh, another frog jumped in. It was just on that railroad tie. There he is right there. Got a frog friend. And you see there's some old rusty pieces of metal in here. The ceiling's also dripping. This is a great break from the heat outside. I'm not exactly sure how warm it is in here, but I'd say it's probably below 75. And the water's not freezing either. The first time I visited this place, there was a thin layer of ice on the water. Very cold. Right here, there's lots of seeds and pollen and other debris that is blown in the tunnel. Just listen, it's so quiet in here. All you can hear is a few drips of water. Yep, you just hear a few drops of water. And look at all that lime. Or is that road salt? That might be road salt actually on the ceiling, because the road is right above us next to that bridge. I believe you would call that effervescence. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen, the word I'm thinking of. Now, if you look underneath the water is actually preserving the railroad ties pretty well. Look at that. You can see evenly all these nice ties. They're not even that rotten. I see gas bubbles coming up occasionally as I walk. Now you see I'm almost to the top of my boots walking through here. Last time I came in here, once I got to this pile, I thought I was in the clear. But it does get significantly deeper as you continue. So this pile of rocks at some point fell from the ceiling right here. In the summertime, the risk of it collapsing is pretty minimal. Usually the freeze and thaw cycles are what typically causes that. Now down here is pretty cool. It's like a gigantic pool. What am I hearing? Is that a dog barking? I think I'm hearing someone's dog bark. Now I'm stepping onto these railroad ties. Oh, releasing a lot of bubbles. Yeah, probably me talking in the tunnel is probably amplifying my voice. It's probably pretty loud where that dog's able to hear it. Big seesaw rock. Here's another small collapse off the wall. You can step down onto the railroad ties. And basically at this point, I'm just done trying to not get wet. It is hot out. I'm just gonna keep going. If it happens, it happens. The water is definitely lower than our last visit. Yes, it is. Yeah, all right, we're just going to go ahead and step in, flood the boots. Oh, it's starting to stink in here, those gases we're releasing from underwater. That's not a dog, that's a bullfrog. We got to go to the end and see that guy. Yeah, that's a bullfrog. From further back, I couldn't tell what it was. Oh, Oh. I have flooded my boots intentionally. Now there's nothing to stop me from just plowing my way through the rest of this. The water's actually so refreshing. It's freezing cold in here. Whoa. Now I'm literally knee deep. And you see I'm stirring up the water, so I'm not going to be able to see as good on the way back, but that should quickly clear. Pretty deep in here. Look at the bottom. Look how green it is. The camera's picking it up as green. My eyes are not. The bottom to me looks brown. But, oh, I see what it is now. Those ripples are reflecting the trees from outside. The end of the tunnel here looks beautiful. Look at that. The water's actually cold enough that my lower legs are actually starting to get numb. It's so refreshing. It's going to cool down my body. There's a lot of dead earthworms that have drowned in here, I see. But here, there's a lot of duck moss, aquatic plants at the end. It's a little frog sanctuary. Let's see if we can actually spot any. Lots of gas bubbles are continuing to rise as I'm disturbing these ties, since not many people visit. Got some skunk cabbage here. That stuff's pretty stinky if you break through it. Oh, there's a frog. No, not the bullfrog. There's got to be a really big guy around here. Walking through this part, this is extremely stinky, the gas I'm releasing. Very stinky. And we got some pretty flowers here too. The entire end of the tunnel here smells like one of those stink bombs you would find in a glass vial. Seriously. The tunnel has a slight current blowing out this way, so I won't have to smell much of it on the way back. Lots of pricker bushes here, but this was the railway line. Last year, somehow I climbed up this extremely steep hill. I'm not going to do it this time. But now it's time for the walk back. The frogs, the bullfrogs and green frogs, can really camouflage themselves. The guy who was doing that loud bark. Oh. I think he wants us to find him. He's actually in here. How did I pass him? I think he's out of the water because when he was barking, I don't see any ripples. Whoa. Very deep in the stinky mud. It's a nice place. Whoop. Some of these rocks aren't stable. There's a frog over here somewhere. I'm not sure how far up he may be, but there's a bullfrog in here. I might just be quiet for a minute and wait for a few more noises. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just keep quiet for a minute. You heard that? I've been waiting here for only about 2 minutes. I heard a bark. He's further deeper in the tunnel than I thought. He's nowhere near this rock pile. So I'm gonna have to keep my eyes peeled coming back. Lights on. Whoa, water's really deep there. That went a few inches above my knees. You see underwater here, there's a lot of railroad ties. Possibly the lack of oxygen and constantly being underwater might be helping preserve them, because these things are almost in pristine shape. When I step between the ties, the water is pretty deep. I'm occasionally looking at the edges, scanning. looking for the big frog that I suspect is lurking on the side somewhere. Right there is some kid's ball under the water. Over there is a broken beer bottle under the water. Frog's definitely not going to make a noise with the waves I'm making, but I'm hoping to spot him. Probably not, unfortunately. Oh, there was a frog there, but it was a small one. Now I'm back onto the rock island in the center. You see a lot of that duckweed has floated all the way in here. It probably didn't choose to grow in here. It's too shady. I bet the wind just blew it in. Can anyone else see how much the train track is sagging and deformed there? That may have been caused by a frost heave at some point. Take a look at how rotten some of these railroad ties are. The ones that were underwater, the majority of them were in better condition than the ones that are still in service. Now we're about to go down behind this retaining wall and see the more modern tunnel before they decided to put the train track just right through here. And look at this, there's some berries that are going to be done not too long. If I would have came here in like another 2 weeks, we would have had a snack along the way. Now we're about to take a little trail here to the left that will get us down. This may be the trail I used in last year's video. If it is, it's a little bit steep, but the farther you walk down there, the less and less of a hill it is. Now this is the tunnel. We're going to see a lot of debris and vintage stuff down there. All right, this is just a lookout. This is not the trail. We got to go down to a further point. All right, here looks like there might be another way down. Yes, I'm definitely going to try that. And since it's so hot out, this might actually be pleasant. It looks very... Oh, this is the exact trail I took last year. Yes, indeed it is. There's a section of culvert pipe I remember last year that someone threw down here. Yep, this is the trail. It's very damp down here and hopefully cooler. Oh, a squirrel. Big gray squirrel. It just scared him right out of that tree. Yeah, there's that section of culvert we saw last year. Now, the train tracks and rail bed have basically turned into a marsh. So I'm going to have to bushwhack through all this extremely tall swamp grass until we get to the tunnel. All right, everybody. I am plowing through a lot of plants right now. The good news is it's not as dense as it could be. Not the biggest problem, but I'm definitely going to have to check for ticks tonight. Wow, how far is this thing? Wish I would have brought a machete. So I know I'm probably going to get some ticks. It's marshy, high grass. Hopefully we don't run into something like a rattlesnake. There's a lot more of them down in this area. All right, this tree, see how it still has some of its needles? We got to go around it. This thing recently fell. This is going to take me forever to get to the tunnel. Maybe. Oh, there's stinkweed. Oh, what a pain in the butt. I'm not coming back this way, 100% not. I'll find a better way out. Oh, the whole area is stinking now because I'm breaking that stinkweed. I'm walking through skunk cabbage. It's literally too dense. I can't get to it. I'm gonna walk back down the train tracks and I'm gonna take my luck on that steep rope. So here I am, walking back down the train track again, because we couldn't find easy access there. Too much of a worry of rattlesnakes. And it was just way too overgrown. It probably would have taken me over an hour to reach the tunnel, which ordinarily is like a minute walk. So here's the retaining wall, and if you look down here, this is the tunnel. This is what we're trying to get to. That is extremely overgrown down there. You literally can't even see the tunnel looking down there. So here's one more view of it. Before we gotta try doing this from the other end. It's not the most advisable way, but I think I can make it work. I'm not saying I'm gonna attempt to go down that rope. I'm gonna try to attempt to find a flatter spot that I used last year. Yeah, these train tracks, I can tell, don't see much action. Right here is where I was showing you that ripple. Something's wrong with the track, it's sinking there. All right, I got the rope. Hopefully I don't fall. That's all I can say. Honestly, this rope feels pretty strong. Ooh. Man. Wish I would have brought hiking boots. This is not actually that bad going down here. I got well enough balance, and whoever put that rope here is a lifesaver. There's no other remotely easy way to get down. Oh, butt's gonna be really dirty though. All right, that was a steep part. That should be way easier to get up after. If you guys can tell or not, that's like a 60-degree angle. It's very steep. The rest of it here, I don't need the rope. Anyone here? Nope. Now you guys can see how steep that really is. Yep. Last time I walked down here a little ways and I found some way up, but it being almost summertime. No, it is summertime indeed. Yeah, summer started on the 21st. It's too overgrown. So now we're gonna get to see some rusted out cars. The water's a lot lower than last time, but it still is damp. See, people put these rocks here to get across. If I wasn't wearing my rubber boots, these would still be very handy to have, these rocks. But see, this train tunnel is still Pretty dry. It's very flat, nicely graded. Looks beautiful. You see all these little cubby holes, that's where you would stand when the train's going by for safety. Ooh, someone had a party pizza in here. This is a great place to have a party. There's a bunch of hard seltzers. Another giant pizza. Is that also from Big Y? Yeah, someone had quite the party. Someone left their broken chair here. They even had Christmas lights. Wow, look at this. Whole line of Christmas lights. I wonder if they're locals that just ran a 100,000-foot extension cord out of their house. Or they probably had one of those handy power banks with AC outlets. That's awesome. Look at this. Multiple sets of Christmas lights just put together. It may not even have been a party. It may have been just people down here for a long time to do some graffiti, I guess. Because sometimes exploring, I've run into graffiti artists who they'll have a whole suitcase of every color you can imagine, every shade of spray paint. They do it in actually a very professional way, even though it is vandalism. That's really cool. Those stalactites forming. That might just be tons of road salt. Or it could be lime, it could be a number of things. It looks cool, although it is damaging. Yeah, this tunnel's a lot drier. Here's some pieces of a car I mentioned. Last time I explored this, I didn't go into much detail about the cars, but I'm gonna try to show as much as possible. Somebody in the comments said one of them's an old Volkswagen van. You see, these vehicles they're even more scrapped than last year, I believe. But here's the front of another car. Does anyone know what that could possibly be? That's pretty awesome. There's a bicycle tire, mattress springs, the old railroad mile marker. That railroad mile marker, I think, was actually standing up in here last year. What's this? Is that a locker for like a school? This car is destroyed. Just some old wires hanging out of the dash. There's a tire with a rim. And here's an actual trail going out. Yeah, it ends pretty fast. Because look what we have down here. You got poison ivy here. Poison ivy vines climbing over each other. This right here is like a 6-7 foot heap of poison ivy. And there's that retaining wall I was up on earlier. Yep. Nice. Last time the sun must have been in my eyes. I thought last time it said 1911. It might be a 1911. It might just be that stalactite stuff making it look like a 4. Nice. I could probably get up right here, to be honest. But I'm going to go out the way I came. That rope was pretty strong. Look at all these. It's just poison ivy as far as the eye can see. Because I could see that way down there. And you see quickly it turns into a marsh with really tall grass. And there's even a couple baby weeping willows in there starting. I tried to grow weeping willows myself. None of the seeds I bought even grew. Weeping willows are pretty cool. It's a foreign tree, but it's not invasive. Not really. They spread pretty slowly. I know some people who have a few giant ones, but there's no seedlings to be found. I don't know why they have such a hard time rooting. Yeah, that car is pretty cool, right? Yeah. Hey, look at this plant struggling to grow in here with almost no sunlight. Wow, look at it. It's like much more pale than you're seeing on camera. That's not my camera lights at all. What I'm seeing in person is like it's almost white. Does anyone know what kind of plant that is? Did somebody plant that in here intentionally? Tell me in the comments. I'd like to know if anyone knows what that might be. All right, here we are. Wow, look at this. Imagine when this was lit up. You got a whole strip of lights here going across all the way back. It's like a gigantic rectangle taking up more than half the tunnel. That must have looked pretty cool when it was on. This place would be so awesome if they made it into like a public place or a rail trail, but me personally being said, I find these places, oh, a big drop of water on my head. I find these places more interesting when they are technically abandoned like this. When they become things like rail trails, usually they're not the same thing. They'd probably have to put lights in here. It would probably ruin it, but I would far more prefer that over them eventually posting the place. As far as no trespassing signs, that's what posted means. And look at that, it's still got the pipes behind the walls. That's to relieve pressure so it doesn't push through and cause that sort of damage. All right, here we go. We're gonna make our way back up the hill. It should be easier this time. All right, I don't need the rope yet until we get to about here. This is where I left it off before. Oh man, the rope feels so much weaker coming back. How am I gonna do this? I'm kind of nervous. Ooh, nervous. Oh man. Might have to put the tripod down for a moment, somehow. All right, I'm gonna put you guys up here while I try to get myself up. Yeah, I'm not, when I was coming down, I was using my feet as brakes. Now I'm trying to use the rope to get myself up because there's not enough holes to stick my fingers in to get up here. Oh man. I don't think I can go back up this. I'd have to be a lot smaller to trust that rope going back up. Man, how am I gonna get back up that? The rock is all smooth. I'm gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, guys. I'm gonna have to find the way I got out of here last time. There is a trail here, thankfully. How am I going to do this? Sinkhole. All right, this looks like a good way up. Yeah, this must be the way I got up last time. Not as steep. And as I'm walking, I'm pounding my boots into the hill sideways. That's how you get traction on these steep hills. Oh, I lost traction there for a second. Oh, but I'm back up. All right, everybody. I hope this summer update video was interesting. I just wanted to have some fun seeing this in the summertime. Since last time I came here, it was still cold enough to have ice inside the tunnel. And now it was cool to see the overgrowth. The overgrowth makes it a lot more challenging. And I'm sure that poison ivy prevents most people from coming anywhere near this place. Someone had a campfire under here, really? I'm out of breath. It was a steep hill. High humidity. It's 97 degrees out today. It's one hot day in Connecticut. All right, we're on our way back to the vehicle, which is about a half a mile away, and coming across some beautiful beaver ponds, a lot of Canadian geese. We got ponds on both sides. When I started this walk, I was actually regretting it because it was so hot. But ever since I flooded my boots, my body is trying to warm up my feet, and by doing so, it's keeping me cool as my body's circulating that around. It doesn't actually feel that bad now that my boots are flooded. Water's not really cold anymore, so I'm gonna start feeling it, I'm sure. We will check out the culverts though. These beaver pond has culverts going underneath the road. This is another steep trail. Gotta go kind of slow with the crooked feet. And here's the beaver pond, which also is a pond for the fire department. Out here in the country, there's no fire hydrants, so they have to fill up with tankers to fight house fires. Much more important to have fire extinguishers and stuff out here in the country. There's someone shoe in the water and no beaver debris at all. Amazing. A lot of nasty sludge. The beavers may likely be relocated, but there is a big old lodge over there. Let's check out across the street real fast. There's two culverts. Oh, there's a lot of fish here too that are trying to get their way upstream. There's a whole cluster of them. They're unable to get up this thing. It's blocking the way of fish. Anyways, I hope today's video was interesting, everybody. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Another shoe.